Parks Railroad Committee to order. First thing we need is motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Mr. Diamond, Mr. Wild, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. Okay, we'll turn it over to Mr. Benway.
Did you get your own copy?
Okay, the first one I have is a resolution from the Stewards Corporation. We also included a map that shows on Ridge Road, they're buying the old Time Warner building and they're taking it down and going to put up a new Stewards shop. They want access to a portion of our bikeway to the, I guess that would be to the south. We've included the schedule, which is $200 a year. Any questions for what they want to do? Or?
I just wanted to add on this a little bit. This is the one that most of you saw me in I think it was in the Chronicle. I went out there and met with a group of citizens out there who were concerned about, they had two entrances shown. One of them was cutting through a wooded area, which kind of acts as sort of a buffer for the residents in that area. So I kind of looked at it and said, if it was my recommendation, I would eliminate the one, which that's the one I have X'd out, and I would bring the other one through committee. So that's the one that I'm bringing through committee. This comes around up towards the intersection with Ridge. It's probably a better access point to them, but they don't have to go all the way up to the intersection and come back to the sidewalk. They can come off the bike path and come right into Stewards.
Mr. Loeb?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I want to point out to everyone who doesn't live in Glens Falls that this will be the second location for full service that we have on the bike trail between Fort Edward and Lake George. First one being on Warren Street in the First Ward. There's no place to go to the bathroom. There's no place. Sprinkles is open, but they're kind of off the trail. There's no place to get food. There's no place to make to anything. So this will be a great asset to our bike trail. I mean, I think you've gone through the process of addressing the concerns of the neighbors, but this will be a great asset to our bike trail.
Mr. McDevitt?
I'm not a member of the committee, but I'd like to, if I can. Thank you, Michael. According to this morning's Post-Star, the next hearing for Stewards is in November. Okay, not in October, but November. And according to the report in the paper, there is some thought that they are repositioning the building. They're moving it closer to Ridge Street. So where indeed they will actually build the structure is, I think is up in the air right now, because I don't think that Stewards has prepared the final plan. So I guess my question is, does it really make any difference, the point I'm raising, the fact that they have not indeed shown us, shown the city of Glens Falls a final diagram where the building is, where the building is not, how far it is from Ridge Street, and so I guess that's my question.
I haven't received yet any final plans from Stewards. This is just to kind of approve the license agreement so they can tie into the bike path. I will take a look at their final plans and determine that where they put it, if it's a good location similar to the one that they have projected here. If it's not, I will go back to them and make them change it.
Okay, so again, the licensing agreement is going to be somewhat generic in either case.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Just based on a square footage.
Okay, Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I may have mentioned this before, but I was at that meeting, and I just want to commend Kevin for doing an awesome job, kind of responding to the citizens that live nearby there, and also trying to create that balance of what we need for the bike path, what Supervisor Loeb mentioned in terms of the access. I just think this is a great thing, and again, to commend Kevin for doing a great job. Thank you.
Dennis needs an agenda for this. Yeah, I got one, Gene, thanks.
Okay,
Start over?
we ready? Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Dickinson?
No, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Mr. McGowan?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. Any discussion?
What's the motion?
This is,
About a license agreement with Stewart's Ice Cream to have access to the bike.
Do we have a copy of the licensing agreement?
I don't have one attached yet, because again, we don't have that final document. You see a fee schedule on there. Basically, the fee schedule on there, as Tim said, is $200, and that's for a minimum up to 5,000 square feet for land for any use excluding park.
I very respectfully, I don't know how we can vote on a license agreement if we don't have the verbiage to even a supervisor not to look at it.
I will work with the county attorney's office on the verbiage, but it's standard language we used with Cooper's Cave, with any of the crossings. Basically, the language is the same. But again, I need the final plan from them, and I'll make sure that it goes along with the final plan.
Thank you.
I think in the past, what we've been doing is approving these and then subject to the attorney's office work, and then comes back for final approval. Mr. McGowan?
Yes, being on the Queensbury Planning Board, we have a lot of stewards that's come through Queensbury and have re-upped their stores, and a lot of them have built stores where keeping the other one open, and then you drive by again and whammo, the other store is gone and the new one's open. It's really amazing, but there's one thing that I have found out over the years of working with stewards. They really are an exceptional company to deal with, and really a company of their word. So I feel comfortable entering an agreement with them.
I'll just state, my wife works for Stewart's, has for longer than we've been married, so, just so everybody knows.
Thank you.
Don't want any controversies.
Your fault.
Okay, we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next item I have is also for a new contract for the engineer's house in Riparius. It's the one that we've knocked to the ground. We put in an RFP. We had 2 responders, and Jupiter is the contract. It is on page 5 for $43,000. We moved money out of the reserve to do this once before, so we're all set.
Okay, did you want to say something?
Just
Mr.
wanted to
Aegis?
add on to that, that we originally had done an estimate on this and estimated approximately at $53,000, and the bids came in $10,000 under that.
Would someone like to make a motion to move this? On the floor. Supervisor Dickinson, Supervisor Merlino on the second. Mr. Garrity?
Did they get all the permits, proper permits, or who gets the permits?
They will get all the permits as part of the
That goes
project.
to asbestos, all that stuff. That goes to that asbestos.
Analytic testing will be their monitor.
Good. Good.
Are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next one I have is to accept a donation of a beehive, observation hive they call it, from a new group put together called the Friends of Up Yonder. And they're going to put this in our museum.
Okay, would someone like to move this to get it on the floor? Supervisor Hogan, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. Any discussion? Supervisor Hogan?
An active hive?
Yes, we have one now that's smaller. They're actually doing a bigger one. It's going to be pretty sharp.
The only,
Mr. McGowan?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, the only question I have, they used to have one up there at Patty's Patch out there, 149. It was, you go inside the store, you could see the hive and active. It was pretty awesome. They ended up getting rid of it. A lot of people got stunned, by the bees because they were so close to the activity. So,
Right,
Is
we have
there-
that cordoned off
okay,
on our deck system that you can't go near that.
okay, thanks.
It's on the opposite side of the building towards the...
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it might bother someone who's getting stung,
Correct.
But it was so awesome to actually see a working hive, and like I said, it was just
And the
plexiglass over the comb, and it was just
And honeybees are not known to sting very often unless they're pesky. That's what we use,
Right.
honeybees. We don't use hornets or
Well, I've been known to get irritated once in a while too, you know, so.
Fair enough.
Okay, well, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the last item I have is I've attached the trunk or treat flyer, which is coming up here. We do it 1 week, usually prior to all the other events in the area, so it's October 19th this year. I mean, we have over 200 to 300 people attend this event, so it's just there for your knowledge and welcome to come. It's a great community event. And then I'll turn it over to Mr. Hajos.
Okay, are we gonna do the budget for this, or do you wanna wait till the end?
We can do that with,
At the end.
the end. Okay, is there anything further for Mr. Benway? The public? Mr. Wild?
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the agenda, maybe it was stapled wrong, but there's a resolution in here about the railroad. Doesn't belong in this packet, doesn't it?
Is that the one to take down the house?
365, yes.
That's a resolution that was already completed.
Yes.
Right, that was just added information for the
Sorry.
money that we put in that account to remove that engineer's house.
Sorry for my inattention.
Okay, with that, we'll move into the Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first thing I have on the Public Works agenda is on page 2, 3, and 4 is notice of intent to fill positions. The first one is a notice of intent to fill the auto mechanic position. I just had somebody resign. The next one is to fill the position of the MEO Light based on a promotion, and the last one is that's a resignation as well. And then the last one on page 4 is to fill the position of MEO Light, who has been promoted to a medium.
Do we make a motion to do all three?
Second.
Sure. Mr. McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. Any discussion?
What,
Mr. Dickinson?
What are qualifications of your auto mechanic?
Auto mechanic, I don't have them attached, but basically this is kind of a starter position for an auto mechanic. It'd be an ideal position for somebody coming out of, say, the BOCES program or something like that to come into work. We were looking at discussion in budget this year of possibly changing the steps that we have as an auto mechanic, because everybody comes into the department as an auto mechanic, say one or just an auto mechanic, but they all have differing levels of abilities. A lot of the guys that we come in can work on the heavier equipment, so we're feeling that we should maybe create different positions, maybe later on, but right now this is just sort of an entry-level position.
We just lost our mechanic.
Okay, are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item on the agenda is transfers for road project, and this is just to close out the projects. These are the salary and benefits that are included as part of the projects.
Someone like to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. Did you have a question, Mr. McGowan?
No?
Okay, if we're ready for the question, I'll call it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item is on page 6 of the agenda, and this is a transfer to cover the change orders with the contracted projects this year with contractors. Mainly the change orders that came in on these projects there was a asphalt price increase this year, and this is covering the cost of the asphalt price index.
Okay, Supervisor Garrity moved to the floor. Supervisor McGowan, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item is on page 7 of the agenda. This is to amend the budget, and this is for an insurance recovery for repair of a vehicle.
Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item is on page 9. This is to close some of the capital projects that we have. The Treasurer's Office has been asking us each month to try to wrap up some of them, so we're trying to knock them down here and there as much as we can. Some of them that we haven't been able to close is we're still waiting for funds from DOT, and DOT has not been quick at responding back to us. So this is to close certain projects and then to put those projects back to their fund source.
Supervisor Dickinson on the motion, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. Mr. Loeb?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of the items are a lot of money left.
There is a lot of money left, and you'll see the next couple of resolutions beyond that. I'm going to take that money and create a new capital project for bridges within the county, because we have a couple of bridges that we're going to work on next year, and that's what we're putting this money towards.
Okay, is this county money or?
This is county money.
County money, okay. Thank you.
Okay, if we're ready for the question, I'll call it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Mr. Loeb just say that the money from those projects is, on page 10, is to amend the county budget, and this is basically to reflect the money back to their funding sources. And this is for the ones that were in the D code as well as the A code.
Supervisor McGowan on the first, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And I apologize, I probably should have done them both together, but 10 was, I think, for the A code, and then the 11 was for the D code.
Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Next item on the agenda is on page 12, and this is to establish the capital project H390, which is county bridge and culvert projects. This is where I'm going to take that money and put it into this new capital project. Just to give kind of the committee an update, the county is doing very well with our bridges. Rarely have we had any more red flags on our bridges. Mainly our flags on our bridges from DOT are yellow flags or safety flags, meaning the conditions aren't a significant collapse or anything like that. Red flags are typically something that's significantly wrong and it requires immediate attention. We haven't had that in a long time, so the county is doing very well in catching up on our bridge projects. We have a few more that we want to take care of, and that's where this money is going to go to. But that's why I also named this capital project for culvert projects, because what's happening now is a lot of the culverts that were installed 30 years ago, the larger size culverts, they're starting to deteriorate on us to the point that they have to be replaced.
Okay, would someone like to move this? Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Hogan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Next item is on page 13 of the agenda. This is to increase capital project H361, which is the Brant Lake Lower Dam. Any dam owners were required by DEC to do an engineering assessment on their dam. We had done an engineering assessment. We thought we were pretty much wrapped up with it. DEC came back with some comments, and this is to have the consultant that we had on board to address those comments with DEC.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor Wild, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next three items on the agenda, which would be on page 14, page 21, and page 26, are for the Middleton Bridge project. As you all are aware, this is the bridge that's just off of exit 24. This bridge is the one that we were looking to replace in the existing location originally. So there's a scope of work involved with that with the consultant. We then looked at it and thought that there'd be a better placement of the bridge, which is further north. I think we're about a mile and a half north. On one side, this touched on the DEC State Forest Preserve lands, and on the other side, it touched part of Riding High Ranch. At the time, Riding High Ranch was going to donate us their side, but we could not sort of touch into the other side because that was DEC, again, State Forest Preserve. As I think you all are aware, it's gone through two legislators now where they've passed that we can use the State Forest Preserve and that they're going to create a land bank so we can pull from that land bank. We don't have land to use yet for that. I think that's the part of this that they're still working on, but it has gone through the legislature for us to move forward. So this bridge is going to be moved further north, but there was a significant change in scope from the original bridge, and basically what this is a supplemental agreement with DOT for that change in scope, to amend the contract with our consultant to be able to do the work, and then an increase to the capital project.
Okay, would someone like to move this? Supervisor Dickinson, second. Supervisor Garrity. The governor did sign this bill about 2 weeks ago, and the land has been identified, should be closed by the end of the year. was the last update that I had, so, but this project can still move forward with it. It's been a long time. 2 supervisors. Okay, if we're ready for the question, I'll call it. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's on all three, right?
Yep.
Excuse me?
All three, yeah.
Yes, all 3. 14, 21, and 26. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next item I have on the agenda is on page 27, is to amend the county budget. We have received, or have been given a letter that we will receive the money for the extreme winter recovery for this year. So I would like to take this money and put it into some of our road projects to do some extra road work moving into this year. And I believe there's a list of projects on there, if you can see that I'm putting the money towards.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last item I have on the agenda is to transfer some funds for salt and rental equipment. Last year, we used quite a bit of salt. In fact, I think we probably went over, we were required to put in each year how much we're going to use. I think we were 1,500 tons over that last year because of the winter we had. And that's left most of my salt barns for this year short. So we had some money extra in the Harrington Hill Road project. And I'd like to be able to take that money and use it to replenish my salt and to extend the rental on the paver that we use for these road projects for till the end of this month.
Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last thing that I have before we get into the budget review is on the back page is your DPW overtime and fuel usage. You will see that we are up in overtime for this month compared to last year. But I think it's mainly because of Balloon Fest. We had 4 launches this year, so it required me to have people there for longer periods of time, whereas last year we only did 2 of the 4 launches, so I could cut out individuals early. And the other one was for mowing. I normally try to spread out mowing throughout the year, but we got behind in some of the road projects, or wanted to stay on the road projects, so I just started in the month of September and asked them to start doing some overtime to finish the mowing on the roads. Just as an update for that overtime, I just did the overtime numbers in dollars. It looks like, as I said at the facilities committee meeting, that we took in approximately $33,000 from donations and parking with Balloon Fest, and I believe the last numbers that I saw that we labor was only about $30,000 this year with the food as well. So we're under for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you. Kevin, do we have a fund like maybe or can we put that extra money in a balloon festival fund for next year, you know, to help toward overtime? Or the expenses that DPW and everybody incurs on, you know, doing this? Instead of just throwing it in a, you know, the general fund, I mean, it's happy to hear that we're up this year, right? But all the other years we've been down, so, I mean, can we keep that money there for this particular festival? I don't know. Just a question.
What would be your desire?
Well, I would ask the budget officer for his opinion as well, but
Okay.
it's an operating expense and an operating revenue.
All right, like I said, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yep. It's going to be done soon.
We are short.
Supervisor Wild?
Oh, you'd have to set up a reserve fund if you're gonna do it.
Yeah. Do you want to, would you,
I'll make a motion, we set up a reserve fund for the access balloon festival.
okay, we have a motion?
See it again, but...
I just believe we should have Brad Supervisor McGowan there hawking everybody for money, because I understand he did a great job doing that. So,
Oh, no, I gotta give, Gene and I had a good team there.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Garrity, and seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I hear what she's saying. Okay. Anything else before we get into the Supervisor Dickinson?
Motion to adjourn.
No, we got the budget. Supervisor Garrity.
You just got here.
Congratulate the mowing. I came down Golf Course Road. It really looked pretty good. They did a good job. Somebody spent some time up there mowing that road. It's really good job.
Thank you. Dennis, I'll try to go fast. Dennis, I'll try to go fast.
Okay.
You ready?
We're ready for the budget unless anybody else has anything.
ID, the screen.
We have one.
all right, who's going to look at that? Good, go ahead. I'll look at the big screen.
I'll first start with the A codes. I would try to blow it up a little bit. I'm just not sure it can
No.
get any bigger without it going off the screen.
Kevin, do you have one for me?
I,
Or not?
Probably does. Do you have one for Matt? No?
You should know these by heart.
Well, unfortunately, I couldn't come to the second meeting, so
So as you can see, these are the A codes. These consist of DPW admin. I'm going to skip over Gaslight Village because that's going to go along with Park O&M. Westbrook Parking Lot, Beach Road, Waste Management, Parks and Rec, Up Yonda, and Up Yonda Bed Tax. As you can look on the screen, except for Parks and Rec, I'm basically under budget on compared to last year on most of those codes. So I'll start going through them real quick. What pages here? I'm going to skip the D codes. We'll come back to those in a moment. So to get in the A codes, I'll go to first. This is Public Works Admin. As you can see, I'm a little bit down from the adopted from 2019 to 2020 request. Salaries are a little bit down, but that's I've hired someone new as a principal account clerk, and they don't have this number of steps, so that's probably taken into account for the salaries in that one.
I'm sorry, Kevin, can we go back one slide, please? I was just looking at the totals, the total line, and your expenditures for 18 was 660,000, 19 amended is 610. Looks like you're over budget for 19. We're going to have the same situation for 20, that we're going to be over budget again?
It's dropped to $25,000, 35.
Well, I'm just looking at the amended though, right?
Well, I mean,
Before, right?
I'm even still under for the 2019 adopted as well.
Just wonder if this needs to be higher to reflect what we might expect to see, because the previous years have been higher.
What you see in there is the bigger item that you see on there was amended for this year. If you look into the amended column, under 200, which is equipment, that's the computer reserve. DPW is getting all the computers replaced this year. They're all 7, 8, 9 years old.
I should get that piece of paper.
So again, I don't want to dwell on it. Most of it I've kept pretty neutral. The explanations are underneath. Furniture, furnishings, office equipment, and there's that $30,000 supervisor allowed that you'll see right here. That shows, and again, that was just computer reserve. So pretty much everything's there, stayed pretty even. I don't think you'll see any big discrepancies in any of this whatsoever. And I'm kind of trying to, as I said, go through them fairly quick. If you do have questions, just please stop me. The only reason that I'm up on the Travel Education Conference is I've asked the county administrator, and kind of approved through budget, that I start sending some of my leaders to do some leadership training within the department. And this is what has kind of increased that budget under that item.
That's the foreman?
That it will include the foreman as well, but the foremen aren't under this one.
And under this one?
This is DPW admin.
Okay. Yeah.
Chairman,
So the big variance there was that, from 18 was that settlement, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So that was 90 or 100,000. A big,
Yeah, and we still have one more coming into this year. I think, is this the last year? Do we have one?
12,500.
Is this the last year?
No, I think it's 5 years.
Okay.
I think it's a couple.
Okay. And this is comes from the treasurer's office. This is the Social Security, Medicare contributions, workman's comp.
Oh, can you just look back real quick to the workers' comp? That's your admin, the workers' comp, or is that everything?
That's the admin.
Oh. Real.
I'm going to say, again, as I said, I'm going to skip over the Charles R. Wood Park, and I'm going to do that under Park O&M. Next is the Westbrook parking lot. These are the expenses and revenues associated with the parking lot out in front of the festival space. Again, pretty much even with last year. I don't think there's really a change in everything compared to last year. Some of the expenses that you'll see that we have on there are meter repair, phone lines for the board meters, credit card chargebacks, and then DPW chargeback for plowing and maintenance of the property.
How much did you take in?
Let me go to the revenue. So the actual in 2018 was 71,000. We had estimated this year approximately 100,000. Right now we're at 24,000, but I don't believe this is booked through when. Do you know?
I don't know, but we're keeping the event fee, that's going into CR Wood now.
Correct.
Instead of both the meters and the event, so that's why there's a difference.
So if you,
Between adopted 19 and actually.
so earlier this year, I had brought to committee that we would take the fees associated with when there was an event in the park, in the festival space, and they were going to also use the parking lot, we would take that money from the parking lot to put it to the festival space to cover the expenses in the festival space. So that's probably why there's a little bit of a difference in what you see in these numbers.
So this is the actual parking lot. How many parking spaces do you have?
I want to say, I believe 96.
Thank you.
Next is the Beach Road parking lot. This is the one just below the fort. This is the one that basically the village maintains. They take 75% of the revenue from this parking lot, and the county gets 25% of it. But it is a county-owned parking lot.
We tried. We tried to get it back from it.
You got 25?
25%.
Okay, so $200,000 is 25%?
We get 25% of that parking lot.
Of the 200,000, yes.
Of the revenue is approximately 92,000 was for amended for this past year.
That's the total.
Yes.
That's what we got. That's 25% of the total, right?
No, that's the total that comes into the parking lot.
Pay him.
Oh, all right, okay.
P.T. Barner.
I get it.
Next is the A1628, which is the waste management containment. This is basically for our containers. It includes one employee, and this employee maintains all of our containers, does a lot of the moves with our containers in some of the towns, and you'll see that we have purchase of 5 more containers for this year.
You got 5 containers for $17,000?
3 containers for 17,000, 1 for 5,000, and 1 for 4,500.
Roll-offs?
These are roll-offs, yes. The revenues that come in under that code is for the household hazardous waste grant, and it's whatever we take in, it's usually half that they reimburse us. Next is our Parks and Rec Department budget. This is the only one that's kind of increased by 1.1%, as you saw on the cover page. You can go down through some of the items. Again, Tim's here if you have any questions. 200 items, 210. We've increased a little bit because the refrigerator that they have, although it's lasted, I don't know, 30 plus years, it's getting old. I think it's almost 40 years old, and they want to replace the refrigerator for this year. Some of the other items you can see, the explanations are there. Baby changing tables for the bathrooms. There are none that exist in the bathroom today. Digital scales, pond aerators, typical equipment that Tim needs every year. One of the things that I had put in the budget this year, or Tim had asked me, and so had to Jeff Ingley, is they have a wide open field down at the hatchery. If none of you have been down there before, we were trying to get more visitors to come down to the hatchery, and one of the ways we were thinking of doing it is a disc golf game. It's become a new fad to play this disc golf with frisbees. So it's our intent to put this disc golf system down at the hatchery and hopefully attract more individuals down there.
Kevin? Yes. What is a baby belt feeder for fish? Are we hooking babies up to...
I'm going to let Tim answer that.
It's a small belt feeder. It's on a clock, 12-hour clock. You set it over a tank or a raceway. You pull it back. It sets itself for 12 hours. You put the proper amount of food on it, and over a 12-hour period, it slowly works forward. That way, when we're not there, because we're only there, 7 hours inside the hatchery. So the other time, that's how we feed everything while we're gone. And they wear out the parts, the belts. We replace them.
Just a spring-loaded thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much it's clock. All it is clock.
The last big item we have under there is under the lawn and landscape, and it's a new snow blower for Tim. They do a lot of the sidewalks around the bikeway when the snow gets pushed back, and they have a snow blower already, but they have to do around the hatchery first and do around some of their areas, and then put it on a truck and take it down to the city. Whereas this would allow them to keep one at the hatchery, and then the other one they could keep down there, or move it down there and split the guys up a little bit. And again, the remainder of the items under the .4 codes are pretty much in line. I believe there's also under the travel education conference there's for 3 individuals in Tim's department to do leadership training as well. Some of the revenue that comes in for Parks and Rec, of course, is the fairgrounds for the Adirondack Safari, as well as the bike rally. There is an increase this year for Adirondack Safari. It's 5% above last year, so this year is $198, or going into 2020, it's $198 a day for the 96 days, which brings in the $19,000. Then gets used for the garage sale, and typically it's 1 or 2 additional days throughout the year that the fairgrounds gets used. The other revenue comes in from the hatchery pavilions. They rent them out for birthday parties and such down there as well. The one down below that where you see the 2410 bikeway lease, these are those license agreements with the approval of Stewart's. I think we've already included that as the budget, but that's where that money comes from. And then the last is Tim has vending machines down there around some of the ponds where individuals can put a cord in a machine to feed the fish. Next item is Up Beyond the Farm. Most of you know this is the trust. Mainly the trust for this year was approximately $199,000, or almost $200,000 for the trust this year. The rest of it comes in with revenue. They're pretty much an even split. I think we're maybe $300 more in expenses this year. Again, everything's kind of remained neutral throughout. There is a slight increase maybe in electricity, but then the oil and gas heating goes down a little as well. So, and salary corrections, correct. See here the revenues that they take in. It's the occupancy tax. from Bolton, Warren County occupancy tax, and then the program fees and schedule. There's what you see from the trust this year is $199,000. From the Bolton General Fund, $10,000. Next is the Up Yonder Farm bed tax, and this is just to track the bed tax money that comes in from Bolton and Warren County to see where the money gets spent to and make sure it's being spent correctly. And again, that's the $10,000 from Bolton and the $3,500 from Warren County. Next is the snowmobile grant.
That's just a comment there that that's only part of what we contribute. So the town both contributes to Up Yonder. And we contribute 6.
And the bed tax, right.
I think our contribution is more than twice that.
Kevin, if I could ask the trust, is that a perpetual trust that we expect that money to be here all the time, every year, year over year over year, or is?
We do.
And it's a 3-year rolling average, so if you have, several years of bad, it takes, several years to catch back up, which you're starting to do, right? Yes. We take a 3-year rolling average.
This is for the snowmobile grants. Of course, we haven't taken in any of the money yet, so that's why that's 0, but we'll do an amendment through the year when the money comes in for the snowmobile grants. This is for the railroad. This one you'll see is significantly down. Betsy and I talked with the budget officer as well as the county administrator. A little bit of concern is depending on what happens with if we contract with a new operator or not, we still have property taxes, we still have electricity to pay for. So we did put a little extra money in those. I think we have for the signals, and again, that's just on that trickle charge. It's $1,200 a month. So we put it up to 6 months until we determine what happens with the railroad. Again, the property tax you'll see on there, $6,800, school tax is $8,300, water is $444. We right now only have about $6,800 in there for the property tax. For the school and water tax, we'll have to again determine if we get an operator on it that they'll pay the cost of that. No money in there for road and bridge material, and no money in there for contracts. So we won't be doing any herbicide. And really, we don't have anybody maintaining those signals for us right now because they're on just the trickle charge and it's not being used. Right now, the only revenue really coming in for the railroad is for the ticket sales building, which Revolution Rail is in, and that's a lease from May to October. And I think Tim just chatted with them to just, at the end of this month, they'll be closing it up.
27th, I believe it is.
Now we'll get into the D codes. I can tell you right now that I'm not flat under D. I have increased the budget. Mainly, I think the biggest things you're going to see is with salt for road projects. That's probably been the larger increases under D. Under traffic control, this is mainly for my signs, painting, taping, and guide rail supplies throughout the county. You'll see that under supplies, I've increased from last year by approximately $20,000. This is to do a larger guide rail replacement project this year. We have a lot of the guide rail that's been in place for years. It's a lot of the old W-beam type guide rail, and we're moving more towards the box beam type guide rail. But there's a lot of it that needs replacement around the county. The other item that's really increased here is the contract at the bottom. You'll see it's $185,000. That's for basically the painting contract for striping my roads. We have a contractor on board to do that work for us, but DOT just came out with a new engineering bulletin, and the towns would be getting it as well. Any roads that are above, I believe, 45 miles per hour will now have, as opposed to 4-inch stripes on the road, they'll have 6-inch stripes on the edge of roads. So that's the increase to that, is basically more painting for those roads.
Are you going to be grinding this year?
We are.
You are going to be grinding, and how many live edge plows do you have?
2, we're getting another one, so we'll have 2 going into this year.
Excellent, thank you.
Kevin, I just want to give you a heads up, we got a 15-minute mooring, time mooring.
I'm trying.
I'm keeping the committee going.
Are we making brine, or are you
We're purchasing the brine, we're not making it.
from the guy in Albany? Or?
Yes. Yep. Again, there's the signs and tapes, and there's the striping that we're paying an increase.
Flip it back to work now. I like to chat. Okay, go ahead.
The revenues that comes in is signs and guide rails for towns and other municipalities, and then the other revenue that we receive is from other departments within the county that we sell hard hats, vests, safety equipment to. Next one is highway admin. This is mainly for retirees hospitalization. That's really the only thing that's in. Is that correct? And this is basically because the treasurer's office wants us to account it that way. And then we have the county roads. Yeah, this is where our CHIPS funding comes in. You'll see that I have CHIPS listed as well as Pave New York. The Pave New York program was a 5-year program. The first year didn't count. They only gave us 4 years. But at the last summer conference that I went to, they're pushing the state to add back in to Pave New York, whether it be for a year or they're trying for the 5-year, but they're going to at least try to get another year out of them. And the extreme winter recovery, again, the difference that I brought this year, kind of up in the air of when the budget goes through, whether or not we're going to receive the extreme winter recovery money. Next item is the engineering department. They've basically remained flat. There was an increase of $2,000 total in that. Again, there's a couple individuals in that department that will go to the leadership training as well. See some of the items that are on here. The leadership training, the county highway conference for me, as well as the bridge conference. Our environmental engineer has been attending the water symposium. And then we try to send some of the guys to the Cornell Local Roads programs.
Kevin, if I can ask just for a second,
Sure.
the training program, is that going to be done in-house, or are we taking some of your staff in some other facility?
Prior puts on a leadership training, and they can either, it's $199 a year membership. So they can either do online training, or Prior will do kind of an online training, but a group setting type training. And they're around the area too. I believe Dee Park has gone to quite a few of them, and she says they're very good programs, and she has learned a lot from it. So some of them will be local, and then some of them they'll be able to do online. Next item is maintenance of roads. This is basically our road project and maintenance throughout the county, as well as bridge. I am up in supplies there. The supplies mainly are the typical day-to-day things of going to Lowe's, Braley, Knox, and Fastenal, Fastenal Paints, Nemec Sports, and the such. You'll see that in 2018 actuals were 150,000. Adopted for last year were 18, but we're already up to 35 this year. So right now we're right at 32, so that's why I increased it to 40,000 for next year. Repair, maintenance, building property has just gone down. I'm going to just try to hit on the ones that have significantly increased in here. Equipment rental, most of this rental is paid back to the DPW shop, and this is basically for all the equipment that we have in the county, and there's a rental paid back to the shop because they maintain all the equipment. You'll see the number on there for the equipment rental is approximately $708,000, but there's also a 6-month rental in there for a paver, and if you look at that, that's $140,000. I know, Matt, we only had 15 minutes, but I guess this will sort of lead us into that topic, is I asked at the budget meeting, and I talked to Matt about this a little bit as well. I kind of like the county to get out of the paving business. Reason being is I think our costs, including soft costs, which is tough to track, and contractors' costs are basically the same. Contractors are much more efficient at doing the work than we are. I have a great staff that does paving for me every year. Problem is, I have to pull them from all these other crews every year to put a paving crew together. With that being said, pulling them from those crews are not able to do the maintenance that they should be doing on our roads. And that's where I'm falling behind. So right now I have the paver rental in there for next year for 6 months. Really, I'd really only like to keep it for 2 months, and that's just to do paving maintenance throughout the county on our roads, and really let the contractors do our paving projects. With that being said, as I said, I reached out to Matt. Matt's one of the towns that uses us every single year for paving, as well as the town of Lake George. Other towns can be hit or miss throughout, but as Matt said, he thought it was a good thing that we do get out of the paving business as well. It really wouldn't affect the towns that much, because the county could assist the towns in doing an estimate on their projects, and then if you put the projects out to bid with our projects, based on economy of scale, we might get a contractor who doesn't want to leave Warren County every year and come in and just, pave from May through October within the county. So right now it's in the budget, but I'm really looking for us to get out of the paving projects or paving business so I can concentrate on more maintenance, and that's what we should be doing here in the county.
Chairman Conover.
I think that's a good move. I mean, in the end, the milling's costing the milling, the macadam's costing the macadam. So the only thing at issue really is labor, right?
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. We're pulling people off of other things to do this, and those things aren't getting done. And then, I'm not suggesting that it takes us longer, but if one assumes that the private company that does this for a living is going to get in and get out, it's going to take us longer, then I'm not sure. I think your analysis is probably spot on.
Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually brought this up with Matt, and Matt said that you have talked about it, and I full-heartedly agree with Chairman Conover in this decision. I think it's a smart move, and it keeps you doing the small stuff. I was just on a motorcycle trip, and it was amazing the different roads that I saw that they go out there and they blow out the cracks, and they put, I think that is important on maintaining a road, and especially on 8, which had nothing to do, but these are the things you notice when you're out driving around the bike that you're more aware of, and I could tell the difference in the roads, coming in, especially on 8 from Speculator over to that, I noticed a difference. So I think this is an excellent move, and the 2 months, I appreciate you, Kevin, for bringing that up.
Thanks. I mean, the bottom line with that is I've been preaching, and I guess I did this last year in budget, and I kind of brought it to budget this year, is I need to do more saving of my roads. You'll see as we get into the road project, I have a list here, and I will eventually pass it out to all the supervisors, but I'm more apt to do save roads that are 6, 7, 8 level, which is crack sealing or overlay, and I can eventually, in the long run, I'll save money by doing that and be able to put it towards more of these reconstruction roads. But if I continue to have to forego doing maintenance because I'm doing the paving, then I'm not catching up on my roads. So this is the move I want to do. Again, right now it's in the budget for next year, but if supervisors would agree, I mean, we can possibly remove this from the budget, and I will get out of the paving business altogether. Again, I think I'd like to keep it in there for a couple months, because I'd still do maintenance paving, which would be any of our roads that are in poor shape that I just have to fill holes and such. It's nice to have the paver and pave, 1,000 feet, 500 feet, whatever it may be. So I'd still like to be able to keep that for a couple months in there.
Yeah.
Skip right over that one? Yep.
You're not kidding.
What was that aberration on 18 in supplies? Something happened in 18 that...
I don't recall.
That's all right, I don't want to hold up any of yours.
There, thanks, Betsy. That's salt. That's me pulling from supplies in this budget, as opposed to the salt budget for 13, to replenish my salt supplies. Next one is county roads. This is for the road budget. These are basically my projects for 2020. I'd gone into the budget meeting, discussion with Supervisor Thomas, the budget officer. I asked for $4.2 million this year for roads. Frank wasn't sure that would be possible, so right now we're looking at $3 million, but he was also no different than last year. He said there's a possibility if sales tax revenues are high, that we could go back and look at increasing this come the beginning of the year. So that's where we're at with projects right now. I can tell you the $3 million doesn't get me to where I want to be. Us staying ahead, it keeps us at kind of an even keel. That's why I went with the $4.2 million, but I'm hopeful that we go into the new year and the sales tax revenues are good, and we asked for the other $1.2 million.
How much of that 4.9 are we going to actually finish this year?
We are done with all related projects from last year. Complete. We're doing maintenance work now, but we are done with all the road projects for this year.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Good job.
Mr. Wild?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, we've talked about this before, but what you're doing, we're taking money out of the budget for the roads, and you mentioned that you like to do the maintenance because it saves us money in the long run. Basically, we're keeping roads in a good shape for a longer period of time before we have to invest in a replacement or major reconstruction.
Correct.
By taking this money out of the budget, and I know Frank is going to do whatever he can to build it back in, but by taking out, almost $2 million, what is that going to cost us if that holds 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road? Is it going to cost us an extra $10 million because we have so many more roads to replace?
Well, let me tell you how I decide after the budget meeting, how I decide what I'm going to take out in roads. I take out reconstruction roads, and the reason I take out the reconstruction roads is because one, they're a larger cost, and two is I try to keep those reconstruction roads safe. They're always going to, if they're at the point of reconstruction, they're at the point of reconstruction. There's nothing more I can do. I can't save them, so they're a reconstruction road, but they're the larger cost roads, so I'll take them out first. The remainder of the roads that I kept in, if losing that $1.2 million, are roads that I can continually maintain and get back up to that 10 level. As I said, they're roads that are 7s or 8s, that I do a little bit of work on them, whether it's an overlay, crack seal, chip seal, or something. I put them back up to a 10 again. It'll give me a couple more years. So it does hurt because some of those roads, Coolidge Hill, I'll point over to Ron, is one of them. That road's in horrible shape. Is it a safety issue? No, but it's at a 4 and it's going to stay at a 4 or a 3. It's never going to change. It's at the reconstruction level, so I'm leaving it at the reconstruction level. It's just not going to do anything to it. I'm going to maintain it so that it's a safe road to travel on, but it needs to be reconstructed. So that's the ones that I've taken out. Does it really hurt me? To some degree, yeah, because I'm hoping to get those roads done, but it's not the end of the world. It's a road that's already at reconstruction, and it's going to stay there and remain there. It's not going to get any better.
4.9, you see the 2.56 is what was budgeted in 19. The request is $3 million. The difference between what was adopted in 19 and the amended is what we moved into the capital plan after the first year.
Correct.
What was that amount? 1.3? Oh, I'm including that piece of equipment.
The piece of equipment, I want to say it was almost $1 million. Yep.
What a great old.
Yes.
By
Yep.
thinking of everything together. It was like 600,000.
So Supervisor Wild, if a road is at a 4 or a 3, which is a reconstruction level, there's no me saving it anymore. It's gone. There's not much I can do with it, just maintain it in a safe condition.
So, Mr. Budget Officer, we can take a look at this after the first of the year and
Whatever you want.
see. Or do we want to budget it now?
Three.
Next one is snow removal. This is snow removal contracts with all the towns, correct? I'm sorry, this is the salt budget. This is mainly what this is, the salt budget. So you'll see under 410, this is one I have significantly increased. And the reason I've done that is it reflects basically what we had for the actual for the last 2 years. Budgeted 464, our actual in 2018 was 464, but again, some of that came out of supplies, or I'm sorry, out of the maintenance budget. In 2019, the adopted budget was 465. We're already up at, with the amended 534. And we're, again, that's why I'm increasing the salt that I took earlier in the resolution today, because basically my salt bins are empty. So this would reflect the actual cost for 2020 based on what we've had over the last couple of years.
You're not carrying any salt credit from last year. You used up everything.
Pretty much, I have maybe 150 tons down in the south end, and that's all the rest of my barns are basically empty.
Make an observation. If you're able, maybe you can use the crews to open up the sunlight on some more of your roads and use less salt. I mean,
And I can honestly say that goes back to my maintenance of roads, is now I can use the guys, if I'm not paving, to open up more of that canopy so the sunlight does get in. Because it doesn't just, I mean, it happens on town roads. And I can look at Matt and says his roads are, not any better, and probably Andrea's roads are the same. That tree canopy grows over and the roads never dry out, and they deteriorate.
but I mean, that's, everybody's beating the drum on salt usage, but you gotta make it so if you're gonna reduce your amount, then you gotta make it so it's gonna be more effective, and it's gonna be more effective when the sun hits the roads versus
Solar power.
trees.
And going back to earlier, when Ron asked the question about the live edge plows, we will have 2 this year. We're doing a pilot program this year. We're kind of taking a crew and we've trained them how to put the right amount of brine down or pre-treat, put that right amount of salt down, and then we're taking another crew where we're not training them, but we're giving them the same ability to do it, and we're going to compare that at the end of the year. It's going to be a nationwide kind of pilot study with our department. And we're going to see how much less salt we can use going into this year.
Are you also helping the towns calibrate?
I don't believe we have yet. I know the town of Lake George has probably already got a good handle on calibrating theirs because they've been doing this for a couple of years. If the other towns need assistance, I think they can get the assistance either through us. Well, you can tell me, who am I? I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name. Yeah. Rick Kim can come in and help the towns out as well. Yep.
Come to the salt conference. It's Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yes.
Lake Placid.
Come because I believe the county DPW is getting an award.
Wear it with pride.
This is services to other governments. This is basically our paving for the towns. The paver and roller rentals for the towns that we do the paving. This may be limited depending on what we do going into next year for paving. This is grant transfers to capital projects. This is for the federal aid projects. Going into next year, we were pretty aggressive on the TIP, Transportation Improvement Program. Over the next 5 years, I believe we almost have $30 million worth of projects on the TIP. DPW does. Going into next year, we probably have about $7 million worth of projects that DPW is working on federal aid projects. So this is basically the local match for those projects.
Some of them are done.
We're close. This is a machinery budget. This is for Dan Smith over at my shop. This is basically for equipment. He does have equipment replacement list. I can hand it out or have copies made for everyone. These again back in 2009. For anybody who was here back then, they did a $2 million bond for equipment back then. The problem is all that equipment now is 10 years old. And 10 years old with salt and use, it's time to start replacing a lot of the equipment. So that's mainly what's in the budget. 2 of them are tandems that basically the frames, the dump box from the salt have rotted right through. There's a couple of 550 type trucks in there, as well as a couple smaller pickup trucks. Chipper, another mower, and a skid steer. You'll see the other items, which are attachment type items that Dan had as well requested here. Salter, plows, went through Salter for Parks and Rec, mower for buildings and grounds. You'll see a used golf cart. I looked at the new ones. The new ones were anywhere from like 10 grand, but most of you are aware that the work that Brenda does around the county center, and she does a lot of good work around the county center. She had the award this year for Employee of the Month for some of the stuff she does. She mainly has to walk around the county center and clean up. This is a golf cart. The one that they had is no longer operating. Dan Smith, the garage, they can't do anything anymore, so this would be to get her a used one to use around the county center.
They were selling the other day for $800.
Not up on Route 9, is it?
It's probably yours.
Most of the revenues taken in is mainly from other departments that they do the work with, and the machine equipment rental from each one of the divisions in DPW. Motor fuel farms, not much. We pretty much remain neutral there. The biggest one you see for the adopted budget for this year, as well as the amended budget, that's to replace the fuel farm that's being worked on out at the airport. That's the only discrepancy on why that one shows higher in this year. And this is the last one, which is a sewer with Warren, Washington County, and that's just our cost and revenue to go along with that sewer. And I believe, that's it. I will. I'll send it out to. I'll send it to Amanda, and then Amanda can pass it out to the board.
Good job.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
Hunter John, you talked about you have 150 tons of salt. Your other sheds are empty. How much salt do we buy? And is that the same?
Typically,
Mine is extra.
Typically, I can take in all my salt sheds 1,500 a round. Most barns will hold up to 300 to 400 tons of salt.
So in total?
For the whole year, I don't have that total. I guess if I break down the cost of the
Ballpark.
600,000, you have the.
So far, we've spent $450,000 on salt and hasn't even.
So $500,000, but how many tons of salt? I mean, just ballpark.
$52 a ton.
Anywhere from $52 to $70 a ton. So if anybody has a calculator handy, quick.
Divided by 500.
Yeah, probably upwards of
What do you say?
400, basically 450,000 divided by $52.
825.24.
But that's less than 1% on hand.
Yes.
8653?
Yeah, so 8,000. We typically put in for a request every year through OGS, somewhere about 6,000 to 7,000 tons. And we went well over that last year.
Is the brine going to be something extra, and maybe replacing more?
We're hoping that with the pre-treatment with the brine and the pilot program that we're doing using less salt. But again, it's all weather dependent. Last year you saw that we had a very wet, icy winter. There was a lot more application of salt last year than we expected. But again, it's weather dependent.
Thank you.
Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, it appears at this point, with 2 months, let's see, we got October, November, and December left, 3 months, your revenues, uncollected revenues, are about $485,000. When do we expect to finalize the revenues that are coming in to your department?
Typically not till the end of the year, correct?
I think
Yeah.
Treasurer-
So let me ask you this question, then, if your revenues come in significantly lighter than your projections for revenue estimates, how do you balance, where do you get the money to balance the budget? My point is, do you go back and readdress issues in your budget, or once the budget is finalized, you know?
We spend according to what's budgeted.
Okay.
I don't know how they handle it.
Okay.
The treasurer's office does for revenues or short.
Okay.
I know, so I have one quick comment. We reduced our salt usage almost 50% in town went through.
But doing the pre-treatment.
And it also helped with our manpower. You can pre-treat on a sunny afternoon for a storm that's going to hit 2 o'clock in the morning. So the guys are in bed, the storm hits at 2. By the time the storm is taking a hold, because it'll last a couple hours, they're coming into work anyway, so you're not getting any overtime.
Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also support Kevin's idea of the county getting out of the paving. I think that would certainly be an improvement. These people do it for a living every day, and when the city got out of it, we reduced our equipment purchases, and we became much more efficient. So I really like that idea. Thank you.
Although I am paving for the city next week.
Make sure you get your money.
Just to follow up on Supervisor Diamond's point, Kevin, could you let me know where the revenue shortages seem to be, and we'll take a look at why?
We will. That's, I'll go through it.
Thanks.
Supervisor McGowan, you had your...
Yeah, I did. I just, Kevin, on the brine, we can make our own brine? Is this...
You can't make it for less than what he's buying it.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Yeah,
You
we
can't.
tried that too.
Okay, it was just, is it a process? I'd have to look into it,
Buy the material, and then you're mixing it yourself.
No.
And it's easier just...
Yeah, there's a lot involved with
Right.
the material and the manpower.
And it has to be tested and calibrated to make sure that we keep it at a certain, to be used at like minus 23
Yep.
degrees Fahrenheit.
All right.
So-
Okay, we're running late for the next committee. If there's any...
Second.
Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Dickinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Good.
Awesome job, Kevin.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.